Hi, this is Dr. Steve from Misericordia University. In today's online class, let's look at assessment. In particular, let's look at some overview comments and overview issues, and also consider adapting assessment. For many of us, the concept of assessment conjures up thoughts of tests and quizzes and assignments and grades. But when we look at a broader definition, classroom assessment really involves collecting, evaluating, and using information to help teachers make decisions that improve learning for students. Assessment is broader than just assigning grades to students. We can use assessment to make decisions before, during, and after instruction occurs. Certainly, we can use assessment to provide a basis for assigning grades and for making decisions about promoting students to the next grade level. But in addition to that, we can use assessment to determine the knowledge needs of the students, to provide learners with information on their progress so they understand how they're acquiring information and how they're performing. And we can use it to overall improve teaching, learning, and also remediation. When teachers conduct pre-assessment, in other words, assessment that occurs before learning takes place, we seek to answer questions such as these. How much do the students already know about the content they're about to study? How motivated are they to learn this content? What are the strengths and weaknesses of the individual students relative to this content? And based on all of that, what instructional activities should we as teachers plan? When teachers conduct formative assessment that occurs during learning, what we're trying to do is assess how students are progressing in learning the material and also to provide students feedback on this information. Further, we like to use formative assessment to assist us in making other instructional decisions. There are two overall approaches that teachers use in terms of formative assessment. They are both formal and informal approaches. Formal approaches include tests, quizzes, writing assignments, homework, and so on. And informal are also very important, and they can include items such as questioning during direct instruction during lecture, discussions, and their overall performance in the classroom in different ways. When teachers conduct summative assessment, we're referring to assessing that takes place at the end of a unit, at the end of a marking period, or an end of an academic year, end of the whole course. We use this assessment to determine student achievement and also student competence. And the results of these assessments we use to provide a basis for us to assign grades to students and to provide data from which reports to families can be prepared and transcripts can be prepared. So this is at the end of learning. The weight of scoring should be higher in summative assessment than it is for formative assessment. In teaching, excellent teachers seek to accommodate diversity of learners by using a variety of different teaching strategies. Likewise, great teachers seek to provide a variety of ways for students to demonstrate their knowledge. In other words, seek to vary your methods of assessment as well as your methods of teaching. Several issues regarding assessment are worthy of a teacher's focus. Number one, are you objective when you're grading these assessments? Make sure that you're not relying too much on one form of assessment. And also, consider offering alternative assessments rather than just traditional assessments. Another issue in assessment that's very important for all teachers to consider is something known as the halo effect. Now, this is not to be confused with the Misericordia halo, meaning high achieving students, average achievers, low achievers, and so on. We talk about the halo effect, and that's a situation in which teachers, without realizing, tend to grade some students higher than would match reality. Sometimes, and we're human, it's possible for a teacher to look at a student, and if the student seems to have not done well that day in an assessment, the teacher might just chalk it up to, well, that student had a bad day. And in the process, the teacher is actually doing a disservice to that student. So think about, what kind of steps can you take to guard against the halo effect? Some teachers will ask students to put their name, if it's on a physical piece of paper, to put it on the back of the paper. That way they will not be tempted to view the name before they grade the assessment, before they view it. If teachers are accepting materials electronically, like our Blackboard system, many learning management systems have the ability for the teacher to turn off viewing the name until the assessment is all completed. One very important element of assessment is giving feedback to students. If we can give them descriptive feedback, it could lead to change and improvement, and it can guide students and help them understand what their level of performance is. If we just tell them their grade, they may not understand that information. Feedback can be shared with students in a whole variety of ways. We can provide them with tools that they can understand and use personally, like rubrics and checklists. We can give them tests, like pre-tests and practice tests. We can give them informal feedback. We can give them progress reports. We can give them written assessments. We can do things either in a written or in a verbal way, through interviews, through peer assessments, through self-assessment. And also, we can help students understand what they understand of content through class reviews. One of the most frequently used and one of the most powerful tools is the rubric. It has been noted that the use of rubrics is one of the most powerful ways to help students succeed at tasks and also to help them master content. It's very powerful because it transfers the responsibility for learning to the students. So what it does is it clearly delineates what required components of a task, define what the performance standards are, and list the point values for different levels of performance. By doing this, this provides more learner control. And anytime that you provide more learner control to students, you're going to increase student motivation, and also you're going to support self-evaluation. When we think of rubrics, we are usually thinking of analytic rubrics, and those are rubrics that articulate a level of performance for each criterion in a task or project. But there's also a whole other set of rubrics. They're known as holistic rubrics. The holistic rubrics articulate a total level of performance. They'll list descriptors, and many times a checklist will be part of this. Ideally, rubrics and checklists should be given to students before they start the task, because again, we want them to understand in advance what the level of performance is and what the point values that will be associated with each level of performance, to understand what those are as well. And in these ways, we empower our students. Here is an example of a holistic rubric. Notice that we still have point values associated here, but the difference is we do not have each individual criterion listed. Instead, it's holistic. It's the overall. So if a student is going to achieve a 4, then their work should exemplify things listed in this overall checklist. So the checklist provides guidance. But notice there are not individual elements and individual criteria listed. One of the really great tools online to help you make a rubric, and you may be already familiar with this, it's called Rubistar, and it's hosted at forteachers.org. Now, if you create a username and password, you're able to save your rubrics and go back and edit them later. And you can also search through existing rubrics made by other teachers. Let's take a look at how this tool works. One very powerful online tool for creating an analytic rubric is Rubistar. It's hosted at rubistar.forteachers.org. You might already be familiar with this tool. If you create a username and password on this site, then you'll be able to save and go back and edit your rubrics later. Rubistar allows you to start by selecting a type of project. For example, a multimedia project, a video, a PowerPoint, and so on. After you select the type of project, it will then take you into this type of grid that you see on the screen. And you'll notice that typical for the analytic type rubric, we've got various categories. Now, based on the project type that you selected, the categories are specific to that particular type of project. Now, don't feel that you have to stick with what's here. You can start here. It gives you something to start with, so you're not starting with a blank slate. And you can determine different categories that are used by teachers typically, and different graduations, like in this case, the 4, the 3, the 2, and the 1 level. Now notice everything is changeable, including you can create your own categories if you like. This is a very powerful tool and a good starting place to create a rubric. Now, let's turn our focus toward adapting assessments. Let's first consider adapting assessments for English learners. English learners may experience assessment difficulty in comprehending the language, in expressing their content on assessments, or understanding the content and the cultural background, the cultural situation of the test items. They may misinterpret them. They may not be familiar with the different types of test items you're using, and they may, just because of their language barriers, may experience emotional stress. So as a teacher, what can you do to adapt assessments to support English learners? Well, first, you can adjust the variety of assessment that you use. Don't just rely on 1 or 2 types. Use formative assessment data to understand the needs of your English language learners, and then use that information as you prepare future assessments. Adjust the number of items that the ELs are expected to complete, and maybe adjust the time that ELs have to complete an assessment. Think about ways in which you can increase the level of support for English learners. Also, consider adjusting the difficulty by adapting the skill level or the type of task or your approach to the task that you ask on an assessment. Consider maybe allowing those students to use a calculator or a dictionary, or think about simplifying your instructions. Further, you could adjust the type of response that you will accept from students. For example, instead of just writing out a response, could you allow drawings? Could you allow students to do some hands-on demonstration? Could you allow them to verbally respond to you or translate a response? Think about involving them in terms of participation in assessment. Allow students to reflect on their own capabilities and their own growth and areas where they need improvement. And always provide ongoing feedback. can use formal and informal methods, as we mentioned already, and help students realize their progress and areas where they could use to improve. When we consider adapting assessments for students with special needs or disabilities may experience these types of difficulties regarding assessments. They can experience comprehension issues. They may have auditory or visual difficulties that will impede their understanding of assessments. They may need more time. They may have more anxiety. They may have more embarrassment because they feel they're not keeping up with other students. And there may be variability in their behavior from one day to another. When you're designing tests for students with special needs in mind, think about reading instructions out loud and then see if anybody has any questions before they begin the assessment. Think about keeping your instructions short and simple. Think about giving an example of how to respond to a question. When you look at test format, keep in mind universal design in learning UDL principles. Use large enough font, allow enough empty white space on the page, and create clearly defined short sections. If you look at all of these examples, not only will these address the needs and the concerns of students with special needs, and also it'll help students with our English language learners. It will also help all students because these are just representative of good design and good teaching practice. When doing test administration with students with special needs, consider how you can adapt your procedures to lessen some of the negative effects of the disabilities when they're taking the test. For example, allow extra time for students to complete. Consider if an alternative setting to take the test is better, because that could potentially reduce distractions, and it can also provide just more opportunity for those students to just be more comfortable in asking questions if they don't understand something. And as already mentioned, with all students, if you vary the types of tests that you use, and if you can use performance-based assessments as part of your assessment mix, it's going to result in better teaching and learning for students with special needs, for English learners, and for all students. Let me mention two online sites that can support assessment, testing, and grading. One powerful tool is called QuizStar. It's also located at forteachers.org. What's nice about this site is that you could use this, as many teachers do, to give sample quizzes or tests. So these could be used for practice and review and to help students get a feel for your style in testing and assessment. Now, some teachers also use this system to actually hold assessments. QUIA, or Quintessential Instructional Archive, is an online site that offers 16 different types of online assessment activities that a teacher can adapt and make into his or her own. It also offers an online testing system. Now, this is not free. This, as of the recording of this video, it costs about $49 per year. But for that price, teachers have access to many different types of assessment activities. For example, Battleship, or Hangman, or Picture Perfect. And in addition to games that we all know and recognize, they have a couple of others that they've created as well. And don't overlook tools that might be right in your arsenal and you're not even aware of them. If you're using Active Inspire for the Promethean board, make sure that you update to the latest version. In their latest version, they now, I have a picture here of the dashboard. The dashboard has changed significantly, and they now provide activities. And some of the activities they provide are the ability to live categorize, like matching, They have crossword, flashcards, the ability to work with labeled diagrams, and a whole bunch of other things. And the nice thing with this tool is that not only can you incorporate these activities right into an Active Inspire flip chart, but you can also, they're standalone, you can also send them to students individually to work on in class. By using these different tools, you can vary the types of assessment that you use with your students. To wrap up today's class and process the material that we looked at today and put it into practice, let's complete Project 4-2, Adapting Materials. Start by creating assessment or use an assessment that you have already created. Then make adaptations to address the needs of one of the following situations: either students who read at a different reading level, English learners, or students with a specific disability. On Blackboard, then upload the documents and describe the accommodations you made and why you made them. Have a great day and look forward to seeing you at our next class.